In this video, I'm going to show you how to integrate a Getting Things Done system into your personal LifeOS dashboard so you can finally process and get rid of that pile of sticky notes. This LifeOS dashboard will be linked in the description below, as well as the GTD system and tutorial in case you want to learn how to build it from scratch. And if you're already an existing LifeOS customer, then just check your email for the updated template link or watch this video to learn how to build and integrate this GTD system yourself. And with that out of the way, let's get started. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to create this GTD system and how to integrate it into your LifeOS dashboard, and to just sort of show you a high level overview. This is what we'll be building. So you have your inbox over here. So you just take your sticky notes and then just process them, like just dump everything inside of your inbox. You don't think about it, like if it's going to be a task or when you're going to do it or anything. You just put everything inside of your inbox, which would be this, and then just throw away your sticky notes. And then from here, you would decide if it's actionable, so yes or no, which would be this. So yes, it is actionable. No, it's not actionable. And then if it's not actionable, you can either put it on your someday maybe list, references, or it is trash. So this part. And then you can also give context to it. So let's just go ahead and add these in. So let's say this one is trash. It will disappear. This one's references, someday maybe. And then here I would add context. So the reason why it is just references or Incubate, why isn't it a task, or what does it relate to? And then once you give context, it will disappear. So now all of your non-actionables, this part over here, has been processed, and you can go to Incubate. You'll see all of the incubation items, your someday maybe list. You can click on this button to turn it into a task. References, you can add links, files, and media, link it to a notebook, which is essentially like a folder. And trash, these are all the items that you can just go ahead and delete. And then for the actionables, which is then this part, it's either multiple step or single step. So if it's single step, then you just click on this button, you copy this, paste it in here, and that would create a new task. If it's multiple steps, same thing. You just take this and then copy and paste it in here to create a new project. And then once you've done this for all of this, okay, single step, multiple step, you just click on done for all of them. And then you can just delete them here under trash. And then inside of your inbox on your task database, you'll be able to then process it. So here we got our project, and then here for the tasks, we got this item over here. And if I add more tasks in here, I can then select, is this a 5-minute task? So this would be this section of the system. So is it a 5-minute task? Yes, okay. If it's not a 5-minute task, but it is outsourceable, or it's not a 5-minute task and it's not outsourceable, then these will disappear to the relevant views. So we have a view for do. This is everything that is a 5-minute task. You have to do it now. Otherwise, it's decide. So you have to decide when you're going to do it, or you can add it to your someday maybe list. And then if you can delegate it, if it's outsourceable, then it goes to this view. And then here you can mark whether or not it has been delegated. And yeah, everything will show up on your calendar. You can use Notion calendar. This is linked to your databases and everything inside of your LifeOS dashboard, the accountability partner. So everything will show up here. So yeah, that's pretty much the GTD system that we'll be building in this video. So you can just take all of your sticky notes, dump everything into your inbox, throw away your sticky notes, and then just go step by step and process everything. And everything will just go into a task, project, idea, reference, resource, whatever it is. And your desk will be clutter-free, your mind will be clutter-free, and everything will be in its place inside of your LifeOS dashboard. All right, now let's start building. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to the backend toggle, which contains all of the databases, and we're going to go ahead and create a new table view database. We're going to call this GTD System, and we're going to delete the stack property. We're going to turn this into a page, and then also just give it an icon. So I'm going to give it this network icon. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy the link to this database. We're going to go to the top, and then above the quick create section, we're going to paste in this link as a linked view database. Now you probably already know what I'm going to do. I'm going to hide the database title. I'm going to create a callout box, which is going to be called inbox. And I'm going to make it bold, underline it, change the text color to green, give it an icon, and then just drag and drop the database inside. Alright, so for this first view, this view is going to be for our inbox. So this is just where we're going to add everything. And for this one, we're going to just add a select property, which is going to be for the actionables. And we're going to have a yes and no option. And we're going to also just make this red and then make this one green. And then we're going to filter this view according to this. So filter this to where the actionables is empty. So as soon as we add all of our items and we select a yes or no for the actionables, it will then disappear from the inbox and then move to the actionables or non-actionables view. Let's just also go ahead and give this an icon. So I'm just going to choose this arrow icon, and we're also just going to make this bigger. And yeah, now we can move on to the second view. So for the second view, we're just going to duplicate this view and we're going to change the icon. So I'm going to choose this plus icon because this is going to be for our actionables. And here we want to filter this to where the actionables is yes. And then we're also going to go ahead and duplicate this one more time. And this one is going to be for the non-actionables. So let's just add a minus and then filter this one to where the actionables is no. So if I go to my inbox and then just add in some items, so let's just do item 1, item 2, and then just select yes for this one and no for this one, then you'll be able to see that they are now showing up on the actionables and non-actionables view. Now what I'm also going to do for both of these views is just resize this and unwrap this column just so that the text does not extend over the line, and then we're going to get started with the actionables properties. Now, since we're just integrating this into our existing project and task management system, this isn't going to be the tasks. So we're going to basically just create new database entries from this in our actual project and task management system. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add a button property, and then this button property is going to be single step, and we're going to give it a check mark icon. And when we click this button, it's going to create a new task. So we want to add pages to, and then select our task database. And then we also want to just open this page. So open the page, this page that we just added, the new page added. And then we want to open this in a side peek view. So if item 1 isn't multiple steps, but it's a single step, then it would be a task. So I just click on this button, which will create a new task database entry in my task database. And then I would just highlight this, copy and paste it in for the name, and then also just give it a date. So if I add the date in here, you'll see that it shows up on the task database. And yeah, that's pretty much how you then process this and add these items to your task database. And it's the same process for the multiple steps. So I'm just going to duplicate this property, and this is going to be multiple steps. And I'm just going to edit this, give it an icon. So I'm going to give it this folder icon, and then just change the database to the projects database. And same thing. If item 1 is multiple steps, then I just click on this button, take the name, copy and paste it in, and there you go. Now you have a new project. And then for the non-actionables view, we can just go ahead and hide these two properties and add a select property, which will be called type. And then here we're just going to add in the 3 options. So trash, references, and our someday maybe list, or you can just call this Incubate. And then here we're just going to make this green, this we're going to keep blue, and this one we're going to turn to brown. And yeah, this would be the property that you use to define what type of non-actionable it is. So let's just go ahead and add 3 items here. So I'm just going to do item 4 and also item 5. And then we're just going to tag all 3 of these. And then what we're also going to do for both of these views is we're going to add a button property, which is going to be called done. And we're going to just give this one a trash icon. And then here, the action is going to be to edit pages in, and then this database. So this page, select that one. And then the property that we want to edit is going to be the type property. And we're going to change this to trash. So once we click this button, the type will change to trash. And what we then want to do is just go to filters, filter this view to where the type is not trash. And then we want to do the same for the actionables. So let's just hide this one, resize all of these. So let's just go ahead and resize them, and then filter this view to where the type is not trash. So once we've processed our actionables, we can just click on done and all of the items will disappear. And then let's also just go to the inbox view and just hide all of these properties because it's not necessary on this view. And let's say you have a sticky note, okay? You just take all the information, you put it in here. You don't think about what it is, if it's going to be a task, when you're going to do it. You just take it, put it into this inbox, and then from here, you decide, okay, is this actionable? Yes or no? Yes, this is actionable. Okay, it goes here. Is it a single step or multiple steps? Let's say it's single step. Click on this button, copy and paste this in, and then you can add the date if you want, but we'll do the task section later. And then from here, it's like, okay, it's now a task. Click on done and it's gone. It's processed. It's now a task. It's in your task inbox, which we'll get to. And then the same for the non-actionables. If I just add an item here and just select non-actionable, then it's going to go to this view. And then here you would just select which one it is. If it's trash, it will just disappear. But here you would select, okay, this is references. And then from here, we will filter more and create more views. Also for the non-actionables, we're going to add a few more properties and create the views for them because yeah, the actionables are pretty much done. We're going to create the different views on the projects and task databases, but these ones for the non-actionables is going to stay on this database. So let's go ahead and create the extra properties. Starting with the relation property, which is going to be to a new database. So we're just going to go here at the bottom and just create a new database. This is going to be called context. Delete the tag property, turn this into a page. So I'm just going to go ahead and give this an icon. So I'm going to use this arrow icon. And then what I'm going to do is go back to the top and then just add a relation property, which will be to that new database. So let's just find that context database and then just make it show on the context database as well. Add the relation. And then here, let's just also give it an icon and then just resize this. And here you can then add different types of contexts. And then for your context database, you can also just go here and then just add in different types of context and then also just add icons to them. So everything looks nice. So basically an example would be, let's say you are moving and this is a non-actionable because you can't take action on it yet because this is only for when you've already moved into your new place. So then the context would be new house or whatever. Add that in and then let's just go ahead and give this an icon. So let's just give this like a house icon. And yeah, so there you have context. So it's like, okay, the reason this isn't a task, the reason it's still just an idea or something that you want to do, the reason it's not a task yet is because you first have to move into your new house, or you first have to do this or get this thing or whatever it is. So you can just add context to sort of give a better understanding as to why this isn't a task or a project and why you can't take action on it. And obviously the same goes for references. So it's like, okay, this is a reference, maybe it's an article or a blog post or whatever it is for your new house, something you still want to review or have already reviewed or gone through, but you can basically just give context to references as well and then add links and all of those things. Now let's also just reorder these and then just give this one an icon. And yeah, this would be the order in which you fill out the information. So you got your item. If it's actionable, yes or no, you can always change this. Select what type of non-actionable it is and then give context to it. So why is it a non-actionable? What does it relate to? And you can click on done to mark this as trash if it is trash. But yeah, for this view, once we've processed this, aka once we've given context to this item, which would be the last piece of information that we add, we want to filter this to where the context is empty because we then want it to disappear. So when we add a new item here and then say, okay, this is a non-actionable, it goes here. Okay, it is on our someday maybe list and the context is new house. Then it's processed, it disappears. Otherwise, if it just stays there, if you don't know what it is, maybe it's trash or whatever, then you can just click trash. But yeah, most likely that would be how you process it. You can change these around. So maybe you give context first and then add the type, in which case you would change the filter as well. So it sort of depends on you, but this is essentially how I do it. So from A to Z, okay, we process this, first add these pieces of information, and then when we get to the last one, it filters and it just disappears from this view because we've already processed it. So yeah, that's pretty much the inbox actionables and non-actionables view. So we can now go ahead and create the other ones because yeah, these are done. We can now add in information and process it, aka it will be removed from these views and these should be empty. So the idea is every day you just go through this, or maybe you do it weekly. You just add in all of your sticky notes, put it in here, process everything until all three of these views are empty. So the next view that we're going to add is going to be for incubation. So let's just call this Incubate and then just give it a clock icon. And we're going to change the layout to a list view. And the properties that we want to show is going to be the single step property as well as the done buttons property. And then we're going to go into filters and we're going to change the type to where it is someday maybe. And then we're also going to remove this context filter and then just click save. So everything on our non-actionables view that we mark as someday maybe and we give context to will now show up on this view. And then for this incubation view, you also just want to go to group and then just group this according to context and just make sure to hide the empty groups. And yeah, this will be your someday maybe list grouped according to context. So when you're at your new house, you would just go here, open up this toggle, go through all of these pieces of information. And then let's say this is now a task. I can click on single step and I can just copy the name. I can go here, paste it in, and then click on done. And bam, that is now processed. That is now a task, which will then show on the task inbox that we'll create. And yeah, you can just work through all of these and then just click on done in order to remove them from the incubation view. Next, we're going to create the references view. So let's just go ahead and duplicate this view again and then just call this one the references. And then here, we're just going to give it this card icon and we're going to go to properties and then just hide all of the properties. And we're going to create a new property, which will be a URL property. So this will be for any links that you want to add. We're going to add a files and media property. And you can just add more. You can have text properties, number properties, whatever it is, whatever type of references you keep. And then just here under filter, we also just want to make sure that this view is now set to only show references. And we can also just remove this context filter. So here when you have a new reference, let's say it's a link to something, you can add the link here. You can upload files. You can always obviously open this and just add whatever you want inside. You can upload PDFs, do with this what you want. And what you want to do here is we're also going to add another relation property. So the relation property we're going to add to one of the templates that's already inside of the areas. So obviously here inside of areas, you have a bunch of different templates, finance tracker, goal tracker, etc. But one of them is the notebook. And here you can have different notes, which is inside of a notebook, essentially like files and folders. And this notebook page, we're going to then link to references so that you can then link those references to a folder and then it will disappear. And when you click on notebook 1, it will show its notes as well as all of the references attached to this notebook. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go back to our references view. And then here we're going to add a relation which will be to our notebook. So let's just find the notebook database. Let's select our notebook database, show it on the notebook, add the relation, and then here we would just add a folder icon, and then we can filter this view. So we can go here, add filter to where the notebook is empty. So when you have a bunch of references here, you would still process them. So you add links, you add all of the information, the files, you upload things if you want to upload images or PDFs, and then once you've added it to a notebook, so okay, this is linked to this folder essentially, then it will disappear from this view, and then you'll be able to find everything under library. So here under notebook, I can just click on this, and then I can change this to page section, and let's also just rename this to references, and also just change the icon, and yeah, here you'll be able to see all of the references related to this notebook. And then for the references, what I can also do is I can create this view. So this one is all of the notes grouped under the notebook. So I can create something similar but for the references. So if I go back here and then just go to references, copy the link, so copy link to view, go back to notebook and then just paste this in as a linked view database. Then here I can change the layout to a board view and I can group it by, and then this would be the notebook, color the columns, hide the empty groups, and let's also just add a colored box. So this would be called references. And then this I would obviously make bold, underline it, and also change the text color. Let's also just give it an icon. And then here I would also just remove this notebook filter. And yeah, there you go. Now you have another view where you'll be able to see all of your references grouped under the notebook. We can also just go ahead and remove this name. And what we can also do is go inside of properties and then just choose to show the link property. So if you have links, it will show up there. You can show files and media. You can also go to layout and change the card preview to files and media. So let's say you upload covers, it will then show. You can also show the page content. So whatever you have inside of this reference, you can show there as well. So yeah, you can pretty much just play around with this. But essentially, you have another view here inside of your notebook which is then all of your references grouped according to a notebook. So if I go back to the inbox, then essentially once you've processed all of your references, once you've added them to notebooks, added the links and all of this, it will then disappear from this view as well. And then the last view that we're going to add is going to be for trash. So let's just go ahead and duplicate this view, and this one will be called trash. And then here we're just going to change the filter to where the type is trash, and then we're going to remove this context filter, save this, and then here just remove these properties, change this to a list view, and then just make sure to only show the done property. And then this view is pretty much just for you to highlight all of this and just click delete. And that's pretty much it for your non-actionables view. So once you have your sticky note and you put it inside of your inbox and it's a non-actionable, it will then either go to Incubate, which will be grouped under context, references, where you can add in all of the information and group it to a notebook, or trash, where you can just delete the item. And then one last thing that we're going to do for this inbox view before we move on to the tasks is going to be to add a template button. And this one is just going to be to add an icon. So let's just add a circle icon. I'm just going to use this one and then just set this as default, so that when you add new items inside of your inbox, it will automatically have an icon, which will just make everything look a lot cleaner. Alright, so now for the projects and tasks. Let's just start with the projects because this one is quick. So basically all we want to do here is just add another property, which will be a checkbox, which will be for someday. So if it's a future project, then we just add that in here. We can actually just use this icon. And then we just want to duplicate this view and we want to call this someday, and here just add an icon and then just add another filter, which will be when the someday checkbox is checked. Let's just hide these filters and reorder this. So here, if we have our project, so let's say this is a project, but this is for someday, it's not really urgent or important, then we can just click this checkbox. And then also just make sure that this view is filtered to where the someday checkbox is unchecked. And then here, if we now go ahead and mark this item as someday, so it's a future project, then it will disappear from this view. It will move to this one, and then obviously when the time comes, you can just go in here, uncheck this, and then it will move back to the active view. Now also see that the default icon has not been added, so you can either go here and then just set this template button as default in order to add an icon, or you can go here and then for your actionables, if you click on multiple steps, you can make this to add the icon. So you just edit this property, select the template button, and then if I now click on this, it will then automatically have that icon. Alright, now let's go ahead and create the inbox for our task database. So what I'm going to do is create a new table view, hide the database title, and then filter this view to where the date property is empty. And then I'm going to add this to an advanced filter, add another filter rule, and then add where the checkbox property is unchecked, and then save this. And then I'm going to also rename this, so this is going to be inbox, and I'm going to add in an inbox icon, move this view to the front, and then just also go inside of properties and just hide all of the properties. So essentially when you add new items in your inbox here and you click on single step, then that item will now show up in your task inbox. So just to sort of show you, we've already created this part, which is the non-actionables. So from your inbox, it goes here. We got the context, actionables, projects, we've done this. Now we're going to move on to this section, which is going to be for the tasks. So for the inbox, the first property that we're going to show is going to be the projects property, so that you can link your tasks to a project. So let's actually just link them to this project, and also just click on this, give this one an icon, just so everything looks a little bit better. And then here we're going to add two new properties. So the first one is going to be a select property, which is going to be 5-minute task. And we're going to give this one a clock icon. This is going to have yes and no options. And we're also just going to color this green and color this one red. And then we're going to go ahead and duplicate this property. And this one will be outsourceable. And here, let's just also give this one an icon. So now that we have these two properties, we can go ahead and process all of our tasks into these three different options. So if it is a 5-minute task, then we have to do it. If it's not a 5-minute task and it's not outsourceable, then we have to decide when we're going to do it. And if it's not a 5-minute task, but it is outsourceable, then we have to delegate it to someone else. So let's go ahead and give some values to this. So let's say this one is a 5-minute task. This one is not. This one also isn't. But this one is outsourceable and this one is not. Now what we want is we want a formula that shows the different actions. So this one should be empty, this one should show do, this one should show delegate, and this one should show decide. So let's go ahead and create a new formula which will be called next action. And then for this formula, I'm just going to paste in this one, which I've already explained how to create in the previous GTD video. But essentially this is just an if function. So if the 5-minute task is yes, then show do, which has an emoji and is bold and red. Otherwise, if it's not a 5-minute task and the outsourceable select property is yes, then show delegate. Otherwise, if it's outsourceable, aka both of them are no, then show decide. Otherwise, if it's none of these, if it's just empty, then show nothing. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on save. And as you can see, we got our different values. So we got the actions based off these. And I can go ahead and change this, and you'll see that this will also change. Now let's also just go ahead and give this one an icon and then move on to the next views. Alright, so the next view that we're going to add is going to be a list view. Let's just hide this database title, and we're going to filter this to where the next action contains do. And then we're going to save this, and we're also just going to go inside of the database menu and then just change this to do. And then just give it a flame icon. And then here we just want to go to properties and then just show the date property as well as the done checkbox property. And if you want, you can also show the formula. So we can show the next action in case you want to see the actual text, which does look nice. So I'm just going to keep that in. And then once this is done, we can move it to the front and then we can go ahead and create the second view. So the second one is going to be a table view. And here again, we're going to hide the database title. We're going to go here, and this one is going to be for decide. Let's just give it a clock icon and then filter this to where the next action contains decide, and then just save this filter. And then here for properties, we're just going to hide all of these, and we want to show the date property, the projects property. We want to show the done checkbox property. And then what we're also going to do here is the same for the projects. We're going to add another checkbox, which is going to be called someday. So this is going to be tasks for the future. So we're just going to add that in, collapse this, and then just move it to the front. And then also filter this view to where the someday checkbox is unchecked. And then we're also just going to collapse this one. And what we're going to do is click on this, duplicate it, and this one will be called someday. And then here we're just going to reverse it. So let's just give it this icon, go to filter, and then just change this one to checked. So once you have a bunch of items on the side, then here you can link them to a project. And we also just actually want to filter this one to where the date property is empty. So make sure that this one is set to empty, because once you've added the date for it, then you've decided when you're going to do it. So then it has been processed. So if I go ahead and add a date here, then it will disappear because it now has been processed. And if I don't know when I'm going to do it yet, if it's something for the future, then I can just click this button, it will disappear, so that this one doesn't just become overwhelming with the amount of tasks. So you can just move them to the someday maybe list, go here, and then same thing. You can just uncheck this one, or also just give it a date in order to make it disappear here. So let's just also add a filter here. And yeah, that's pretty much how you process the decide section of this GTD system. Now, something extra that you can do is you can add context to this as well. So we can link this to the same context database. So if I go here, add a relation, this would be more for the someday maybe list. So if I add a relation, I can link this to context, and then here just make it show up on both of them, add an icon for this. And then here I can relate this to a context. So the reason this task is for the future is because it's for our new house. So then you click on that one, give context to it. So yeah, that is an option and something you can add to this view. And then the last view that we're going to add is going to be a table view. And this one, again, we're going to hide the database title. We're going to filter this to where the next action is delegate. And then we're just going to go inside of the database menu and just change this to delegate, and also just give it an icon. So I'm just going to choose this one, and then I'm going to go inside of properties. And here I'm going to hide the someday checkbox and also the done checkbox. and I'm going to add another checkbox, which is going to be delegated. And then this one, I'm just going to give it this icon, and this would be to mark this as complete essentially. So, okay, this I have delegated, and then it will disappear from this view. So let's just go ahead and add a filter to this checkbox where it is unchecked. So as soon as you've delegated this to someone else, you've clicked the checkbox, then it will disappear from this view. In this one, we're also just going to move here. And yeah, you can delete some of these views if you want to, if it's a bit much. This one shows all of today's tasks, all of the upcoming tasks, everything grouped according to the projects and all of your completed tasks. So it is quite a lot of views, but yeah, you can delete them if you want to. But yeah, this is essentially how you create the GTD section of the task database. And then the last thing we're going to do for the inbox view is to also just add another filter to where the next action is empty. So where the next action formula is empty, so that when you add these properties, so 5-minute task, yes, 5-minute task, no, outsourceable, yes, then all of these will disappear from the inbox. And that's pretty much it for the GTD system. So here for your inbox, you take your sticky note, you add the information inside. Is it actionable? Yes or no? And then it moves to these views here. Okay, is it a single step or multiple steps? That will create new projects and tasks, which will be added to the task inbox. And then if it's a non-actionable, you select what type it is, give context to it, and then it will show up under Incubate, references or trash. Trash you would delete, references you can link to a notebook, Incubate you can turn into a task, and then on the task view that we've just done is, yeah, we can select whether or not it's a 5-minute task, outsourceable, and then from there it will go to each of these views where you would then be able to decide when you're going to do it, see that, okay, you have to do it now, and also delegate it to someone else. And yeah, that's pretty much how you take all of this. So if you have a bunch of sticky notes, you just sit down, put everything into your inbox, you don't think about it, and then from there it will just like process into ideas, notes, references, tasks, projects, etc. So yeah, that's pretty much how you create a GTD system and integrate it into your existing life management system. If this video was useful, then be sure to give it a like and make sure to check out the LifeOS dashboard through the first link in the description, and also click the video that's on the screen now for a full walkthrough of the LifeOS dashboard. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.